Pop Council podcast. This is the show where we cover everything in pop culture. Each week on the show, we discuss topics in the geek world, such as various fandoms, Disney, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, theme parks, and everything in between. I'm your host, one of your hosts, Jami Philbrick, editor-in-chief of Movie Phone and a board member of the Hollywood Critics Association. We've got a great show for you today. We will be discussing the Ms. Marvel finale, the Lord of the Rings of Power new trailer, other new movie trailers, casting news, and even some dream casting news. But it would not be Pop Council if I was not joined by my wonderful co-host, Wendy Lee. Hi, Wendy. Woo!
Yay! Hello, Jamie. It is the weekend before Comic-Con.
Yeah.
This is it.
Are you ready?
Yeah, not the weekend, but just a few days. I don't think I'm ready. I haven't packed.
Okay.
So, not ready. I think on Wednesday, I'm going to go to the grocery store and pick up snacks and water for the hotel room.
Oh, you're smart. That's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart. That's just years of Comic-Con training.
Yep.
Listen, folks.
No $4 granola bars for me.
This is a veteran here. She knows what she's doing. She's not spending $10 on a hot dog.
No.
She's not doing any of that. She's got the snacks and she's ready to go. Let's talk about the most important aspect of Comic-Con. Do you have parties set up you're going to?
I said yes to 2. I'm afraid to say more because you know how they all happen usually around the same time. Yep. And I'm just like, I think my social battery has just like, it's never fully completely recharged. So I'm kind of like one event and I'm out.
Yeah, I would say the whole like going to parties at Comic-Con probably wore off after like year 4 or 5 for me. And we're talking, I did like 14 years in a row.
Yeah.
I feel like at a certain point, it's the same food. It's the same hotel roof. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd go to the Hard Rock one night for one party and this next night it's a different party, but it's the same party. It's the same people and the same hors d'oeuvres and the same skyline. So at a certain point, for me anyways, I don't know about you, but for me at a certain point, it was like, I've done all the parties. I don't need to do the parties anymore.
Yeah. Just get tired. I want to go back to the hotel room and just like rest my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else you're looking forward to this week at Comic-Con?
I mean, I really want to check out that Dungeons and Dragons activation. So we're going to try to do that depending on how quickly we can get things settled, get ourselves settled in on Thursday, because we're not doing with like the preview night thing.
Right.
I'm just paying for
in on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, usually I do. I like to do that, but I don't even know if activations. Only some activation starts as early as Wednesday. Usually it's Thursday. So if we can get there early enough on Thursday, then and check in and get our badges and stuff, which sometimes it could take forever.
Right.
So if the line's not crazy, I'll probably just do that and kind of get that out of the system because there's also the Gray Man activation that I want to check out. But other than that, the fashion show.
Oh, the fashion show. Oh, when is that? Is that Friday?
That's Thursday night.
Thursday night. Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you pick up your badge, you don't go in a costume to pick up the badge, right? You just go to pick up the badge and then go later as a costume. Because what I find is if you go with a costume and if you have if you're a stormtrooper and you're carrying a gun, that's got to be checked before you can get there. Very serious about weapons.
Yes, they are. They are.
I would recommend.
That's a good tip.
As a tip, I would recommend picking up your badge without your costume on, unless it's a simple, if you're Minnie Mouse, that's not gonna be fun.
If you're cute and fluffy.
Yeah. If you're, or Spider-Man or whatever, but if you're going as, the guy from Halo, you need to make sure you probably get your badge before you do all that.
Yeah, I think they tag the props, don't they?
Yep. Yes, they do. Yep. Which is a great security measure. I mean, I remember that starting, a few years ago, and that's a
Comic-Con's pretty strict.
Yeah, they're pretty good about it. They're pretty good about that stuff. So that's really good. I am not going to go.
Okay.
Looks like so I'm happy with that. I'll be trust me, I'll be at Comic-Con. I'll be dealing with Comic-Con, but from Los Angeles. So,
yes.
which is good. And there was something else I was going to ask you regarding Comic-Con, and it just slipped my mind. Maybe if we discuss Comic-Con for another minute or two, it'll come back. But it was something about the costumes and the parties. I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Yeah, maybe it'll come back to you. I mean, this year I'm not actually going in. Like I never cosplayed really at Comic-Con just because it's a lot. You have to bring a lot.
Yeah.
And it's hot and people want to take photos, which is great. And if that's what you're there for, like that's the perfect thing to do before, us, we're trying to cover things. I need comfort. I need fashion and comfort. So it's usually like real cute waist up and then waist down. If I could just pajama pants it all day, I would if it was acceptable.
Right.
But you try to wear like, a comfortable jean or pants or something like that. That's the goal for this year.
Yeah. Well, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you have super fun down there and
thank you.
Get to do everything that you would like to do. And
I'd like to go into Hall H on Saturday, but so far I'm coming up dead ends. Can't get a press seat in there.
Yeah,
for any of the panels.
Prefer to watch Hall H from here. You know what there was once, and this is going back way back to Comic-Con, 10 years or so, but they used to, and they may still have this, press rooms in the convention center that you can use. Do they still have those?
They still have a press room, but I don't know if they feed you the panels.
So yeah, that's what it was. They used to feed panels into the press rooms. And I do believe they stopped doing that. But I remember, early years of Comic-Con, just going to the press room and covering all the Hall H stuff from there. Plenty of Wi-Fi, you know what I mean? It was super, super easy. I think that's something that's been taken away, and it is tough.
You know why? It's because they can't police what people don't record in those rooms. I mean, they could.
You know what? I think you're absolutely right.
I bet you it's that one person.
Yeah, because you're right. Because then if they're showing those, although I want to say that the feed stopped when it was footage.
Okay.
That's one way of policing it.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% accurate.
That could be, but yeah, we're not sure.
I feel like I remember not being able to, see footage from The Spirit or something when I was talk about that. That goes way back, right? That's a time date when the Spirit movie was coming out. Well, let's get to some of these topics. I know, right? I've been doing Comic-Con a long time.
Yeah,
but Wendy, let's get to some of these topics. We've got some great stuff to talk about today. Obviously, the finale of Ms. Marvel premiered last week, episode 6. And I've got to say, man, this show really blew me away. I mean, I liked it from the get-go. I didn't expect to like it or to love it as much as I have. I mean, I honestly think it's maybe, for me, number 2 on the Disney Plus Marvel series, right behind Loki. It's strong. I thought it was very, very good. So obviously, Ms. Marvel, we won't go into all the details about the finale, but one of the major things, obviously Ms. Marvel, she got her costume, her official costume. Her dad actually is the one who gives her name, the moniker of Ms. Marvel. And she defeats the bad guys and wins the day. But what was, I think, probably most interesting for fans was the end credit scene. So let's just jump into that. And of course, we got to see on the right, you can see Kamala in the full costume.
Yes.
And on the left, is that Brie Larson?
Ooh.
Is that Brie in Kamala's bedroom?
She's here.
As Captain Marvel. It certainly is. And so there was some confusion, I think. I'd been reading, on Reddit and a bunch of stuff online, sort of a confusion, like what happened, right? So basically Kamala's in her room and the bracelet starts sparkling. And then all of a sudden she switches places with Carol Danvers. And so some people were like, did she become Carol Danvers? Like, did she transform? So the best of my understanding, and Wendy, let us know what you think, what your understanding of this as well from the internets. But my understanding is that the popular theory is that her family bracelet is actually a Kree bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
and that Carol has the other Kree bracelet. And when they both use them at the same time, it has a teleportation sort of element to it. And that simply wherever Carol was, she has now switched places with Kamala, not knowing who Kamala is, not knowing why her picture is on these walls. You know, we could probably guess that Carol's been away from Earth since the final battle with Thanos. So some time has passed, so she may not be aware that she is an icon on Earth. So that would make sense why she was a little startled by that. And then, of course, wherever Carol was she on a spaceship with Sam Jackson, with Nick Fury? Was she somewhere out? We don't know. But now I would imagine the Marvels will reveal to us where Kamala ended up. So what was your take on that end credit scene? Did you feel like we needed to have Brie Larson make at least a cameo appearance to sort of solidify Miss Marvel's place in this universe and moving forward with Miss Marvel's and with the Marvels? And what do you think about what could be happening when we get to the Marvels next year?
I love that they actually was able to get Brie Larson in there. It wasn't just a shot of somebody wearing her costume, with her voice, that she was actually on set. And that creates a lot of interesting theories that fans can start thinking about, and for me, I think a lot of people, including you, have talked about the bracelet that Kamala wears is Kree tech. Which has yet to be confirmed, because I think we'll come to see that, how, more about that in the movie, but it's possible. And we definitely know that there is two. So it's possible that Carol was messing with the other one, somehow activated or did something interesting with it, and they switched places. Her reaction is hilarious, kind of like, what just happened? Where am I? Why is my face all over this wall? Oh no. And what's cool is that last shot was actually shot by upcoming the Marvels director Nia DaCosta. So like that makes me really happy to know that she even went and got involved with the TV show, which is going to directly lead into the Marvels. So I like the speculation that I have, honestly, because I know a lot of people thought, oh, she turned into Carol. Because that did happen in the comics. But I think if she turned into Carol, just appearance wise, there would have been that, stereotypical mirror shot.
Yes.
And she didn't do any of that. She was just like, why is my face? Whose bedroom? Oh gosh. I think so. We're going to take it back to The Legend of the Ten Rings. We got Carol Danvers in the end credit scene with Professor Hulk and Wong and Shang-Chi talking about the bracelet, how that's thousands of years old, right? Or something like that. We also got a little mix in of a little Easter egg of the Ten Rings symbol in one of the flashbacks when the clandestine was looking for the second bangle. So Carol, I think at this point would be aware of some sort of rings, and what if somehow, because again, we don't know what she's been to in space.
Right.
What if somehow somebody or herself found it, and that's how it, like, when she touched it, it activated something because she's Kree and it is Kree tech, and she didn't mean to. She's probably like, oh no. So I'm also wondering, like, is Kamala okay?
Right. Well, yes, I'm very, very concerned for Kamala. All very good points, Wendy. Absolutely. Yes, they did shoot this as part of the Marvels, which is very exciting. And yeah, I do think you're right. Like, I think that's good evidence that this actually is Carol, because the reaction would be, what happened to me? Look in the mirror. Do you know what I mean? And it would be a little girl. I'm not a little girl, but a teenage girl's reaction to, like, oh my God, right?
Yes.
Like, not, Carol's reaction, which is kind of like, what am I doing here? So, yeah, that's all very good. And yes, very interesting to see where this picks up in the next film. What happens to Kamala. I mean, I would imagine that she's going to have a large role. I'm actually a little concerned about Monica. I don't know where she fits in now. You know what I mean? Obviously, we set her up in WandaVision, and this was the next time we're going to see her. I feel like especially as strong as the series was coming off of it, great advertisement really for the movie, and but great storytelling as well. And so I'm super excited, obviously to see Carol Danvers back and to see Brie Larson and Miss Marvel, but I'm super excited, or Captain Marvel. Too many Marvels. I get very
I
confused.
know.
Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. And yeah, I feel bad that I'm not, I guess Monica will be there too. You know what I mean? Like, I feel kind of like I'm really excited for these two, but hopefully that'll give her more, they'll give her room to grow a little bit more in the next film. But yeah, it's really interesting to see, will we know Sam Jackson's up there, Nick Fury's up there in space, will we see him again? I'm really interested to see like what this story is going to be. I would imagine maybe it's now about getting Kamala back home, but Carol's on Earth. So, like, yeah, it's an interesting place for them kind of to, I don't want to say they paint themselves in a corner a little bit, but it's an interesting place as sort of a lifting ground from, for where this movie is going to be. So are you more excited to see the Marvels now that you've seen the Miss Marvel series and kind of have an idea of who Kamala is and what that combo could kind of be of Kamala and Carol?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, when Miss Marvel started, I was thinking, okay, this is going to be super cute. I can't wait to see how they portray Kamala in this Disney Plus series. And I ended up falling in love with the show. And I think it has a lot to do with casting, like with Iman Vellani playing Miss Marvel / Kamala. She is perfect. She
Great.
just fully embodies that character. And it's really hard to not like her. When you watch her on screen, she's just adorable. So this now really does get me excited because there's different elements going into it. And I think each character, even though it is technically Captain Marvel's sequel, but Carol will be sharing the screen with 2 other characters, I think this is going to be really interesting. I am, especially after the show, I think it's moved up a little bit more on my like most anticipated, list for, I think this movie doesn't even come out until next year?
Next year, 23. Yeah.
2023.
You were talking about the casting, and I just want to say, I mean, like the parents are
Ugh.
fantastic, and the brother, love them. I mean, all the characters, all the her friends, and the Red Daggers, and all. I mean, they did a really good job of, and I hadn't noticed the 10 ring symbol and some of those other things you were talking about. So really good that they kind of melting pot, if you will, of all the sort of history of the MCU, really.
Yeah.
That they've set up so well. So that's great. So we love Miss Marvel and really look forward to seeing her when she returns in the Marvels later next year. We're going to move away from Marvel for a few minutes. You never can get away from Marvel for too long. So we will be discussing more Marvel stuff before the end of this episode, but we did get our first full-length trailer, like with actual actors in it and scenes and things happening, as opposed to just graphics and rings being forged in fire. Or the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power. That is the new Prime Video series. I believe they're having a big presentation at Comic-Con as well. I've got, and obviously this is sort of a shot of the elves and knights and all that, and here's a little, I don't know if these are the hobbits, but they're hobbit-esque people here, and so we got to see a few stills were released from the series as well as the trailer. So Wendy, I'll just jump right into it. What were your thoughts on the trailer? Does it fit into sort of your idea of what the token verse should be coming after the Peter Jackson films? And, are you excited for this, not exactly a retelling of the story because we're going farther back, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the characters and elements that you recognize from the films appear as well. Almost, Mandalorian style, if you will.
It's interesting. There was a trailer before this one that we're talking about. And while everything looks stunning and gorgeous, and I love the whole world that Tolkien's built, and we're, both of us are big Lord of the Rings fans, I haven't felt that since like the original trilogy ended. I really haven't felt that the following movies, even though it is still based on Tolkien's actual work and not just the world, like I couldn't connect with it. I didn't really love the Hobbit films to the point
Nor
where,
did
yeah, I couldn't get into like Battle of the Five Armies. I couldn't get into that one. I did watch Desolation of Smaug. I did see that. But I thought it was okay. And I watched it because I really love the world. So it's kind of prior to this trailer that we're talking about right now came out. I was also thinking like it's gorgeous. Am I gonna watch it? It's on Prime. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it. I have Prime. I am home a lot, so I might as well. But I think this is the trailer that kind of nailed it in for me, where I thought, okay, now there's something I feel like I want to invest in. I think getting to see Galadriel talking and I think that's it too, where you actually have more than just moving shot of different characters from the upcoming series, but you don't really know anything about them yet. So for me, it was kind of hard to invest in, even as much as I love the world. But this trailer sold me. I like how, again, everything looks gorgeous. I think the inclusion, having Galadriel speak and have dialogue in this final trailer, is kind of what did it for me, because she is the one character that we all know and remember from the books and from the films. So there was that connection there where I was like, oh, but this is, taking place so much earlier on. So I am technically wondering, I'm like, what have you seen, Galadriel? Because that's the final line of that trailer. You have not seen what I've seen.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, like we know a little bit, about the things that she sees in Lord of the Rings, but like here, what happens? So, and then with they're like, I don't want to call them hobbits. I think the term from what I read is like the Harfoots or something like that. But I believe they're kind of like maybe potentially the ancestors of the hobbits.
Future hobbits.
Yeah, but maybe, because I don't think that's confirmed. So I'm gonna kind of speculate there. But it looks really good. It looks stunning, just like the Wheel of Time looks stunning. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna give it a watch when it comes out.
Listen, I'm with you on what you said about the films. Yeah, so I've never really read the books. I think I've tried to read a little bit, but not. I'm not.
They didn't make you read it when in class?
No. When I was a kid, no. And so, but my cousins were big like readers, but I was more into comic books, and so I would read the comics. I knew a little bit of it. I will say that, but I did love the first three Peter Jackson films. Yes. And if you kind of remember, 2000 when they were, early when they first started coming out. I mean, it was like Lord of the Rings fever, right?
Oh,
so like
yeah.
everyone got involved. Like, so first thing is I don't really feel that Lord of the Rings fever anymore. That, and I think Game of Thrones and some other things we've seen, you mentioned Wheel of Time, other Tolkien-esque things we've seen that have come out since then, made me a little less excited to watch the show. And also I think partly I have to say too is because we now live in the Marvel era, you know what I mean? And so like all of my sort of fantasy stuff, it comes from the comic book characters and all that, which we didn't have a lot of great, superhero movies back when Lord of the Rings films started. Also the problem with the Hobbit movies is, Lord of the Rings are like 3 really dense books that he made 3-hour movies out of. Yeah. The Hobbit is 1 book that he stretched into 3 movies. And that's the problem. I mean, that was the problem from the get-go. The Hobbit should have been 1 movie, not 3, and they were really just, trying to expand that Lord of the Rings universe on film. I think expanding it for television is a really smart idea.
Yes.
The production value, obviously, Amazon is not cutting any corners. They're spending the money. It shows on screen. So that's great. So I think for me, it's really, look, you've definitely got a couple episodes out of me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm definitely gonna watch the first. I think I heard they're releasing the first 2 at once. I don't know if that's
that makes sense. They do that a lot.
Accurate. It does. It sounds right. It may not be accurate. But if that's the case, I'm gonna watch the first 2. You know what I mean? I'll watch them. They don't catch my interest, or if I'm bored, or if I don't like them, if they're not good, then no, I'm not gonna watch the rest of the series. I'll probably fade off because there's just too much. There's too much to watch.
There is a lot.
But I'm hoping that it does. I'm hoping that the new characters who are introduced in the first 2 episodes, that those are characters that I can get behind and want to follow, and that the story really grabs me. And, I'm hoping that it's great. But you never know. So we're just going to have to wait and see. But hopefully you might get a better idea. You might get to see some stuff at Comic-Con.
If I get into these Hall H presentations, we'll see. We'll try.
Yes. And it does, I don't know. What's the thinking behind dropping the trailer a week before? Like, do you think they'll save like full scenes, or maybe show the first episode? Like, because wouldn't a full trailer be something you want to save for Comic-Con? But I also get releasing it the week before, so we're all talking about it before the presentation and get people excited to go to pack the Hall H. But they've got to show something that's other than the trailer.
Oh yeah, no, they got something huge coming for the con for sure. I think they've been planning it all along, and I think that's why these teases have been literally just teases. It's because they're saving the big stuff for Hall H when they do the presentation.
20 minutes or something.
Yeah, I love it when they do that for 7 minutes or first. Yeah, I want to see how long the panel is, because that's usually like a sign of what they show. Typically you get like the hour. Maybe
if it's
hour
2
and a
hours,
half.
You're seeing an episode.
If it's 2 hours, you're seeing an episode. Maybe both.
Yeah.
So because they time that down to the T, like the production is just always like, let's go.
And then they're probably 50-minute episodes, so you could cram in a 15-minute panel or something as well.
Yeah, the cast come out, directors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep our eyes. I think that's Thursday or Friday.
Probably Friday. Friday's usually TV shows. I'm guessing. I haven't really looked at the schedule yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. That sounds right, because I know Dungeons and Dragons are kicking it off on Thursday, so that makes sense that they would hold that. Speaking of which, there were a lot of trailers last week. And so in addition to this trailer for Lord of the Rings, there were a lot of movie trailers, and we're going to go over a few of them right now. I do want to mention one that I didn't include because it doesn't really fall in our purview of pop council stuff, but the trailer for She Said, which is the true story of the New York Times investigation of Harvey Weinstein.
Ooh.
I thought it was really good. Yeah, it's Zoe.
Zoe Deutsch?
No, Zoe. Her grandfather was a favorite. Kazan, Zoe Kazan. Zoe Kazan and Carey Mulligan.
I love Carey Mulligan.
Yeah, and it was a really good trailer. Reminded me a little bit of like Bombshell, like that kind of
nice.
Or Spotlight. Actually, even a little bit more. Spotlight would be a better
great movie.
Yeah, maybe a better comparison. But since that doesn't really fall, although Harvey is a supervillain for sure. That doesn't really fall under our purview. We will just be discussing these 3. So we got the first trailer for Orphan First Kill. This is a sequel to the 2009 hit horror film. For those of you that don't know, spoiler, if you haven't seen the first Orphan, I'm going to spoil it right now. Because this is a prequel, so the let's call it the twist ending, the Sixth Sense type twist ending of the Orphan. It's a 10-year-old movie, so you should know by now. But Isabel Fuhrman was cast as a 12-year-old girl who was adopted by Peter Sarsgaard and Vera Farmiga, and it is later revealed in the film, and this casting was perfect because nobody knew who Isabel was at the time, that she was not a 12-year-old girl. She was like 31, and she comes on to Peter Sarsgaard and has a sexual thing. I mean, it's really disturbing.
Yeah.
But a great horror movie. And so this is the prequel about how Esther escaped from the mental hospital where she was, and then took on the identity of this younger girl. And Julia Stiles is in the film as well as the unfortunate mother that Esther is going to torture. So I listen, I'm not a horror fan, but I did like Orphan. I liked, like I saw it when I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know the twist. It was one of those things where it's like, what? Wait, what is happening? What? And so
disturbing.
Yeah. So in that sense, I think it worked really well. I do fear that it is kind of a one-trick pony, and I'm not, the secret's out. So how do you sort of build on it in this prequel?
Yeah.
But the trailer did crazy numbers when it premiered last week. People are interested in this and excited. Wendy, were you aware of the first Orphan? What do you think about this one? Are you interested at all? Did I pique your interest with my spoilers?
I mean, you had to, when we were talking, just the weeks coming up to, or the days before the show, talking about show notes and stuff, I was like, what? And you reminded me about them because it was a while ago, and I was like, oh yeah, let me like search back through some of my memories. That's right. So I think it is kind of clever, especially with the marketing, and I'm just like, well, this is interesting. But I do worry, and the trailer I enjoyed, and it's still creepy and disturbing and doesn't give me good feelings.
She's great, by the way. She is really good.
Yeah.
She was very good in the first one, but she's a good actress in it. Yeah.
And I just love that she's able to come back, so, but it is interesting because it's a prequel. So it's like,
right. If I remember correctly, I don't think she could come back if it was a sequel.
Right. So yes. So I'm just wondering how, like, towards the end of the movie, does she like, but I am interested. I am really interested. I love me a good horror.
I would imagine at the end of, unless there's a lot of time between, I would imagine the end would sort of bookend with her being where, almost the way like, if you ever saw Red Dragon is a prequel to Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
You see a woman walk up to Hannibal's cell.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Jodie Foster, but we're led to believe
that it would be. Yes. So I think there'll be similar things like that. I love that they're doing this years after the first one came out. I love
that she still can pass as a 12-year-old girl. I mean, she's 10 years older than she was when she shot the first film.
She's got the gift.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Aging backwards.
Yeah, aging back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she has a mirror that she looks in the Dorian Gray reference. I'm just realizing that the 3 new trailers are all somewhat horror related.
Somewhat. Day Shift is also on the
which we'll
fantastical
get to
side of it. Yeah.
Well, we talked about some good. Let's talk about some bad. The Munsters. If you remember, this is a television show from the 60s. And it came out at the same time as the Addams Family, and that was kind of the thing, right? Back in that era, it was like, are you a Munsters fan or an Addams Family fan? Like, they were kind of like rival shows. But the Munsters was basically Frankenstein marries Dracula's daughter, and they have a family. Their son was sort of a wolf man.
Yeah.
And had a niece, who was never really explained who was completely human and sort of, considered a bombshell in her time, an attractive, a beautiful sort of daughter. But it was a niece, but it was never explained like how she was human and the other, what uncle is related to them that's human.
Yes.
But, this is apparently a prequel. It is directed by Rob Zombie. musician and director, and a very good horror filmmaker. Obviously, the show was a comedy. It was a sitcom. This is, I don't even know how to describe this. This trailer was so awful, Wendy. I feel so bad for Zombie. It was like a spoof, like a Saturday Night Live sketch of a movie, right? Like, you know how sometimes they do fake trailers on Saturday Night Live? It almost was like the fake trailer and like Rob Zombie, you know what I mean? Rob Zombie's Munsters. Like, it seems so phony. And there's like some and listen, I don't want to downplay any of the actors, but I mean, it's not A-list actors in the cast. It's a lot of B actors, and that might be putting it kindly. And so you're not really getting, in fact, I have to say this, and I apologize, but the actor who plays Munster,
Freddie?
Yeah,
Herman.
Herman Munster, thank you.
Sorry, I don't know why I said Freddie.
His name is Jeff Daniels something else. He's got like a third name.
Okay.
But I kept reading it as Jeff Daniels.
And you're like, that's not Jeff Daniels.
Well, I was like, Jeff Daniels, that's a pretty good actor to get to play Herman. Like, that's pretty good. And then I realized, no, it's apparently an actor who appears in a lot of Rob Zombie movies.
That makes sense.
Zombie's wife is playing Mrs. Munster. Yes. So I don't know. The trailer is so bad. I mean, I this show is, let's just be clear. I'm not that old. This show was well before my time, but it was certainly of my time in that it was one of the shows that was constantly, along with the Addams Family, I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke Show, some of those more classic 50s and 60s shows were on television when I was growing up in the 90s all the time. So I did watch a lot of the Munsters and liked the show a lot. This is so bad. I can't even believe it's being released. And it's a Universal movie, but it doesn't really seem like they're, they didn't drop the trailer. Rob dropped it on his and his website. So I feel like this is a movie that could end up, I don't know if they still have direct to DVD things, or you know what I mean? Like,
straight to VOD maybe.
Yeah, straight to VOD. I'm not sure what kind of release this is going to get, but I mean, Wendy, I don't think you were as familiar with the source material as I was, but what was your, just blindly, as a movie critic and fan, like, what was your reaction to this trailer? Like, take everything I just said out of it. Like, what was your blind reaction to this trailer?
I mean, I knew of the Munsters, right? And you're right. Both that show and Addams Family were both on TV around the same time when I was watching them. Yeah. And I was quite young at the time, so a lot of times my family would, have me put on certain TV shows to help me learn English, because that was, English is a second language for me. So I somehow, like, they would have me try to watch both. I somehow gravitated towards the Addams Family more. I don't know if because they aired that in Taiwan as well, so there's a little bit of a connection. The Munster was completely new to me, so I just, as a kid, didn't really get into it. But I am aware of it, and I've seen a couple episodes here and there. And it's interesting, when the trailer first opened, it was in black and white. I was like, ooh, they're going the same route. Okay, so I think what threw me off immediately was just, and it's just not just because it's in color, but it's like they really dialed up the tone, and everything was like really, really bright, which to me, it's kind of a pretty harsh contrast to what the show was. And I'm not saying any Rob Zombie movies need to be all, dark and muted colors. And I love a pop of color here and there, but it was like very overly vibrant. And then just the vibe of just the dialogues and the way they filmed it in the trailer, I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know. So perhaps some of the show was like that. I don't know, hearing you talk about it, and if you watched it growing up, and if you're not liking it, I'm thinking maybe a lot of the fans also feel this way. So it doesn't, to me, like, it really doesn't look like a film that would be released in theaters. It looked like maybe it's something that they decide to stream to Peacock or something like that, because it's Universal. But we don't know, because it's not clear. It didn't say, how usually it says it at the end as a stinger. didn't say it, so we're not sure. But in the comments, MK Songbird says it's being released on Netflix.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Then Universal,
not even on Peacock.
Yeah, and that makes me think Universal just doesn't want anything to do with it. If they're selling it to Netflix. One thing I wanted to mention real quick was you mentioned black and white versus color. This is one of those weird shows. Gilligan's Island was another one where when it premiered, there was only black and white television, but it lasted through color. Yeah, so that's also a big debate with Munster fans of the original series is when was the show better, in black and white or in color? Yeah, because it had one of those. It went to color towards the end.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. But was it as vibrant as the trailer was?
No.
Okay.
No. And the trailer is interesting because also this is I guess a prequel story.
So it is them falling in love.
Yeah, and that part, part of what was interesting about the show was that it was this family,
Yes,
and dealing with the reactions, and then also having, I think Marilyn was her name, was the niece to sort of contrast the crazy family and the normal and all that, and it just seems like they're just really playing off the core three in a sort of screwball comedy kind of thing, and yeah, it just looks bad. It just looks really, really bad.
I didn't love the trailer.
And Elvira is in it, Cassandra Peterson, in a non-Elvira role.
Whoa.
It's just none of it really speaks to me as, a top A+, rendition of the original series. So we will see where that ends up being released and how it's released in the near future. And then we mentioned Day Shifter, Shift, which is a Netflix, I guess, sort of action comedy. It's vampires. It's Jamie Foxx appears in the beginning of the trailer to be a pool cleaner, but then we find out that his real occupation is as a vampire hunter and killer. And he is sort of in a kind of like a Training Day type thing, training Dave Franco as a new sort of assistant. And obviously you can see the difference between the two characters here, one with the suit. And then, of course, Snoop Dogg also in the movie. I think he is a fellow vampire hunter, or certainly vampire historian. He has a lot of information in the trailer about the vampires for Jamie Foxx. I actually liked the trailer. I thought it was funny. Action comedy, vampires. If I'm available when it hits on Netflix, like I'll watch it and check it out. It looks like it could be funny and be kind of good. What do you think, Wendy?
Yeah, I liked it. I was pleasantly surprised by this trailer, and I like the tone of it. It's kind of like there's a little tiny bit of like horror element to it, but it's also got an equal amount of comedy. And this is going to be I believe the directorial debut for J.J. Perry, who has worked on a lot of like stunt heavy stuff. So I expect the stunts to be really cool in this film, and it's just an interesting concept. I'm not really a pool cleaner. I'm here to take your fangs.
Yeah, it's a good concept. Jamie's been doing a lot of these movies because he had a superhero movie with Netflix last year, I think. Something where he got powers or something like that. So,
right.
Yeah, yes. Right. Wasn't there
yes.
So, I wasn't even aware of this movie, but now that I am, it's on my radar. It's something that I could totally see myself, watching one night when there's nothing else to watch.
It's going to be on Netflix, so you can be comfy.
Exactly. So we will keep an eye out for that as well. And last thing, we'll do some quick casting news. We'll deal with two big castings, both sort of. Well, one is in both sort of, I was going to say, in the Marvel universe. Alden Ehrenreich has been cast in actually, I'm getting my news confused. He has been cast in Ironheart. Yes. We don't know what role. One would imagine it's going to be a good part. I would think maybe I don't know. We've never really seen him play a villain. That would be interesting if
That would be
that's
interesting.
yeah. Otherwise, perhaps some sort of mentor role. So that is for Ironheart, and then Adam Scott, right off of his Emmy nomination last week for Severance, has been tipped to join what is becoming a very crowded cast over at
Yeah.
Madam Web. Again, very little. I mean, we know very little about Madam Web to begin with, and very little is known about what his role in that film is going to be. Two very good actors. I actually have often said that Alden really got screwed by the whole Solo thing.
Oh, right.
He did a very good job in that movie, and is so much better than what ended up happening with that film as a performer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was fantastic in the Coen Brothers' Hail Caesar.
Yes.
Came out right before Solo. So, and as you know, these things happen. I think Solo put an unfortunate stain on his name and career for a little bit, but hopefully this is a good role, and not just the sort of, you know, sidekick. I mean, we know he's not the lead, so hopefully it's but I'm hoping for him that it's a good size role and a good role to sort of be able to, I hate to say, mount his comeback, but you know,
could be
kind of return to seeing him a little bit more in bigger things. And I think joining the Marvel universe, you know, it is still Disney, so obviously there were no hard feelings, you know, about all that. And I think it's great that he's, you know, going to join this world and hopefully put Han Solo behind him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's a really good actor, and you know, it's been a little quiet on like his front. Other than I know he's been cast in, he's going to be in Oppenheimer, the the Christopher Nolan film, and I think the Cocaine Bear movie. Remember that? Like when we talked, I don't know if we talked about it here, but he's also in that. But I love when actors from other certain Disney properties jumping in other certain Disney properties, which means because when you're on the show for an MCU show, and he's going to be definitely a character that could potentially you know, have another appearance in an MCU film. So it's going to be really interesting to see who he's going to play. And first of all, good guy, bad guy. I'm thinking good. I just can't see him as a bad guy, which I would also love to see him, you know, try that as well, but we'll see. But it's just he's in the Disney fam, and Disney likes him, so he's not leaving, and I don't mind because I didn't love the Solo film, but I didn't have a problem with anybody's performance. I thought the performances were good. It was just I had some problems with the story itself, but aside from that, that's exciting. I wish we knew a little bit more about Ironheart, but I'm gonna try to be patient and just let it come when it comes.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get some clues in Wakanda Forever.
Yes, because we'll get to meet Riri Williams. So
yeah, Riri's going to be there. So and then, you know, I don't really have much to say because I don't know anything about it. But Adam Scott's a great actor.
Yes,
great choice for Madam Web. I don't know
if he's good or bad or whoever.
I don't know what that movie's about.
Plot twist: he is Madame Web.
Well,
no, I'm joking.
Would be a big twist, but that would anger. Yeah,
that would not happen.
That's not going to happen.
That would not happen.
But it is interesting that we're getting this you know, really big cast, a lot of casting announcements, and you know, we really don't even know what it's about or who. You know, I mean, we know presumably Madam Web is the lead character, but I don't even know if that's for certain.
We don't know anything about this film other than who's been cast in it, and just our own speculation of like, okay, well, so, you know, this person could potentially play this, or if there's a bit of like time travel, maybe we don't know. There's a lot of speculation with nothing confirmed.
Time travel. I hadn't heard about time travel. I love time travel.
Heard a little bit about that. I was like, oh, interesting. All right.
I can see how that could work.
And again, that's people's speculation. Nothing that's, you know, from the studios.
Last thing, this is I categorize this as dream casting.
Yes,
this category. because Ryan Gosling was asked that he has The Gray Man coming out on Netflix this week. It's in theaters right now. Was doing press and was asked about rumors of him playing Nova in an upcoming Nova appearance in the MCU. And he said, no Nova. There's been no talk of that. But I would love to be Ghost Rider. I hope Kevin Feige heard that. I'm sure he did. Listen, I don't know. We just saw a great shot of him there too. That's from A Place Between the Pines, where he did play a Johnny Blaze type, motorcycle circus performer. And Drive's one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, it actually is really great casting. It's really, really good casting. He's an amazing actor. We know they want to bring Ghost Rider back. I don't know how large the plan is right now. You know what I mean? Like, is it a Disney Plus series? I don't really see Ryan doing that. Is it doing a sort of, some other kind of Marvel team up movie that he might be a part of? There's been talk of a Moon Knight, Blade, Punisher could fit in there, right? They had a team, was it the Rising Suns or something from the comics? Marvel's Rising Suns, something like that, right? Or a solo movie. I mean, what do you think? And do you think this comment will go anywhere? Do you think there's anything behind this comment? Like, is it one of those comments where like he's been having conversations about it?
Yeah, I mean, it could
his own head.
Here's the thing: is that he would be a really good choice to play. Why am I forgetting?
Ghost Rider. Knight Rider.
I'm like, wait, this is not. We're not talking about Kit here. But we don't even know when Marvel is planning to bring this character back. Also, it's been established it was played by Nicolas Cage. So while I think I would love nothing more than Ryan Gosling to play the role, would Nick Cage want to come back and reprise that? And would it be weird for the fans to not see him as that because he's been established? So I do wonder about that. And maybe that's why the comment, it's kind of like, well, yeah, I'd be interested, because who wants to turn down a Marvel movie, right? But at the same time, and it's a cool character, somebody else has played the role already.
Yeah, but let's remember that was a Fox-owned Ghost Rider.
That's true.
Or sorry, Sony owned. Sony owned Ghost Rider at that time. And now Marvel has the rights have gone back to Marvel.
We can have both.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. So I would imagine, and who knows, but my guess would be Nick Cage would be the Ghost Rider of another multiverse, right? That's sort of what they've been doing so far. And, he could be introduced in some other multiverse. But they would want to establish a Ghost Rider for the MCU. And whether that would be Johnny Blaze or the more recent Robbie Reyes version, that's up for debate. And there was some talk, because Robbie Reyes was introduced in one of the seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which sort of connects to the MCU, sort of doesn't now. There was talk at one point of, because then that actor was cast in the last Terminator film, Dark Fate, and as a Terminator. And so there was some talk about bringing him back in his own Ghost Rider Disney Plus show later, but then I think that talk dissolved. So yeah, like there had been, but it also had something to do with sort of like the Netflix, Marvel, ABC, MCU kind of split, you know what I mean? Like when Ike was running one thing and Kevin, and then I think it might have been an Ike thing, and then once it all got to Kevin, things
changed up.
Yeah, exactly. So because I do not believe that they're moving forward with that Robbie Reyes version of Ghost Rider anymore. So I think there is room for, and I don't know how exactly things work over at Marvel. If, maybe they were thinking about Ghost Rider as a Disney Plus show, and then Ryan Gosling, an actor as big as Ryan Gosling, both acting wise and also as an actor that can put.
And you don't think he'd do a TV show if it could lead to different projects within Marvel.
I think when you have a star as big as Ryan Gosling and he says he wants to do it, you go straight to movie. I don't think you bother with, because also we know this character works in Moon Knight was a question mark. We don't know if that character was going to work. And also I would say Ryan's a bigger star in a lot of ways than Oscar is, although Oscar is in many ways the biggest star they've ever had, movie star they've ever had do a Disney Plus show directly. You know what I mean? I think that Gosling is a huge name. He puts butts in seats. And so I think, if they weren't already considering it, I think it's something that they would maybe consider. And we know the character works in film. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they don't need to
We've seen it. Yeah.
I mean, I think doing a Ryan Gosling Ghost Rider Disney Plus show, I'd kind of question, like, why? You know what I mean? Like that doesn't need to be tested for the movies.
Right. Yeah. It's been done.
That's right. That's good to go. Like Ryan Gosling, good to go. Last piece of news here, and just to take us back a little bit, years ago, after the fourth Indiana Jones, it seemed like the series was done. Obviously, Disney now has that with them, and Lucasfilm wants to continue that franchise. So there had been talk that Chris Pratt, who actually I thought was a fairly good casting suggestion, I think Bradley Cooper may have also been in the running at one point as well, was talked about replacing Harrison Ford and being a young Indiana Jones, or the current Indiana Jones moving forward. Obviously, Harrison Ford has something to say about that. And they, have shot a fifth film, unfortunately not with Steven Spielberg, but with James Mangold, who's a fantastic director, Logan, of course. And so fifth Indiana Jones, currently still untitled, has been shot. And Chris was asked recently if he would be interested, if he's still interested in playing Indiana Jones. And I thought this was a funny remark, because I guess he read somewhere where Harrison Ford was asked about continue to play playing Indiana Jones. And he was like, I'm going to continue to do it. No one else is doing this over my dead body or something. He said something that even in print frightened Chris Pratt, to where Chris Pratt is like, you know what? I don't want anything I don't ever want anything to do with Indiana Jones. That's Harrison Ford. So I like in this story the idea that Harrison Ford scares people, and that has scared Chris Pratt just in a quote in print to step away from Indiana Jones. I actually think this is probably a good thing. I mean, the jury is still out on the Untitled Indiana Jones 5, and I was not a fan of the fourth one. So I hope they take it in a different direction. But as long as Harrison Ford, did he just turn 80 last week?
I mean, so. It was just his birthday.
Crazy to think that, like, we're going to watch an 80-year-old Indiana Jones movie, but I'm all for it. Like, I love it. If he can fit another one in before he's 90, let's do it.
Let's do it.
I love old Indiana Jones stories. So, but there's gonna, if they want to keep making these movies, and there's gonna come a point where he just can't do it, or he's not alive. I wouldn't mind, and I don't know if you remember the old Chronicles of Indiana Jones series that Spielberg produced in the 90s. It starred Sean Patrick Flannery. It was sort of remember like the scene where River Phoenix played in young Indiana Jones?
Oh, yeah.
So they sort of did a whole series of that. River Phoenix was too big a star to do the TV show. So it was Sean Patrick Flannery. But there is one famous episode of the show that takes place as a very futuristic episode where Indiana Jones is an old man, and Harrison Ford actually reprised his role in that TV episode, which in the late 80s, early 90s was a big deal for Harrison Ford to be on an episode of television. Yeah. And so I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. Like, I wouldn't mind, another Indiana Jones movie after this that's maybe bookended by older Harrison Ford. Yeah. And then we see a Chris Pratt, as the young Indiana Jones. But it doesn't seem like that's something that Harrison Ford's going to let happen.
No, I feel like it's such a Harrison Ford's a legendary actor, and two, Indy is quite iconic, and we've only forever have associated Indy with Harrison Ford. So
yeah,
it's like, yes, do we want more Indiana Jones? I'm sure people want them, but at the same time, if it's not Harrison Ford, do you even want it? It's not going to feel the same. Right. It's going to be someone pretending to be Harrison Ford being Indiana Jones.
Right.
Yeah. Doesn't exactly excite me when I think about it that way.
I think without Harrison Ford's involvement, somehow it can't be Indiana Jones.
Yeah. They'd have to reboot it, and it'd be a whole thing. And right now I don't see that. There's too much history there.
It'd be a whole thing. I agree. Rebooting it'd be a whole thing, Wendy.
That's
well, Wendy, that is about it for us this week. I hope you have a great time at Comic-Con, and everyone out there, if you are attending Comic-Con this week, be safe, wear a mask, and have super fun. We want to thank you all for tuning in. And of course, remind you, we are just one of the shows here on the Hollywood Critics Association's YouTube channel. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tune in to Pop Council every Monday at 11 a.m. Wendy, let everyone know where they can check you out.
Thanks, Jamie. It was a fun show. You can find me everywhere at just my name on all the social medias. You can find me at Comic-Con. I'll be there Thursday and Friday. I have a panel on Friday from 3. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 or 3:30 to 4:30. It's at the Grand Marquis Marriott, and the panel is called "Help! I'm Lost in a Sea of Content," because we have a lot of content, not just TV, but also in different forms of media, books, comics, YouTubes, and all that stuff. And if you want to get into it, you don't know how, this panel is here to help you. So check that out. If you're at Comic-Con, you can just find it on my Twitter. I've got the info posted there. And I will be on the YouTubes, on the Movie Couple channel, doing all the things.
That is what we love. I will not be at Comic-Con. Don't look for me there. But and find me on Facebook at my name, Jami Philbrick, Instagram, and on Twitter at Philbrock. And please check out Movie Phone for all your showtimes, movie listings, news, reviews, interviews, and so much more. We will see you all next week. Enjoy Comic-Con. I hope you all survive, and we'll see you back here next week. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.